Good afternoon, everybody. I come from CRIF Highmark Credit Information Services. We are a Reserve Bank licensed credit bureau. So let's get down to what we do and why it's different. Pradeep, let's move on. So the idea was to bring people, give people access to credit who 5 years ago had no access to credit. Why? Because lenders did not believe that there was sufficient information based on which they could make risk-based decisions on an industrialized scale. So what we did was in 2009 and 2010, with the support of sector influencers and development finance institutions, we went around to the systemically important microfinance institutions. And we sat with their IT teams to figure out, was information available that could be used to make a credit bureau that would reduce the information asymmetry between the lender and the borrower. So that a person who runs a flower stall, week to week, she could get that working capital just to use it like you and I use a credit card. That is the whole concept. I'll come back to this, but let's move on. Let's do that. So here is where we are today. We are the world's largest microfinance database with 142 million loan records of 50 million borrowers, all of whom have been brought into the credit system over a period of 4 years. 182 institutions provide data of their borrowers. About 100 of them provide data of their borrowers on a weekly basis, which means that its database gets updated, allowing lenders to make better lending decisions on a weekly basis. The interesting thing about this is, this contains the systemically important institutions. You expect them to have the wherewithal to invest in IT, to build systems where information flow can be automated. But this also includes the Section 25 companies, the NGOs, the trusts, people like RGVN in the Northeast, people like Kalighat Mahila Samiti in West Bengal, people like Bauda in Tamil Nadu, who are very small institutions, regionally significant, and absence of their data absolutely makes a bad credit risk decision in that region. So we work with them, we handhold them, we subsidize them to make them believe that their participation in a credit bureau is actually useful. 99% of this goes to women. So this borrower profile is entirely different. 99% female lending. They form groups. So in some sense, they are taking the first steps towards micro-entrepreneurship. So there's a responsibility that's being tracked at an individual level. But there's also another kind of pressure, that is peer responsibility. No lady in the group wants to be told in the next weekly meeting that amongst 10 people in the group, she is the only one who's defaulted. That is the other key component of this model. Let's move on. So what did we do differently? I said that we sat with the IT teams. What we figured out was, at that point, there was no digitization. Information was on paper. How do you identify someone? These are not the people who have PAN cards. These are the people who will go and say, "Arey मैं उस साल में पैदा हुआ था जिस साल में बाढ़ आया था." That is their approximation of age. How do you write names? Names are written, our information recording systems are in English, but the person who is taking, who is originating, who is sourcing, doesn't know English. Whatever he is recording is his anglicization of the vernacular. The matra, the ardha matras are at play. You know what people in West Bengal call Aishwarya Rai as? Oishorjo Rai. They are written very differently. But if a lady from West Bengal if her name submitted by lender A is written as Oishorjo, Oishorjo, and name submitted by lender B is written as Aishwarya, in the state of West Bengal, I know that they are the same names, not necessarily the same persons. What does this allow me to do? This allows me to build an algorithm that literally takes the matras, the ardhamatras of the Indian language and applies it on an identity resolution technique on a real-time basis. So these are the first 2 points. The other problem is most of these places, most of the branches are in places where there's no power. Forget about internet connectivity. How do you solve that problem? So in 2011, people were operating in the hub and spoke model. The hub had internet connectivity. People would upload inquiries. People would get credit bureau responses. A CD would be cut. It would be given to a truck driver who would go into the branch and hand over that CD so that the credit decision could be made the next day. Now we are at a stage where even microfinance institutions are employing handheld devices. So that is the kind of progression we've made. I'll address this later. Let's move. So, outcome number 1. I'm done. Outcome number 1, responsible finance even in difficult data environment. The thing that I was talking about, this is the typical customer profile. Madhu, husband's name is Dinesh, given voter ID, ration card, date of birth is 1st Jan 1981. Most populated date of birth in our country is 15th August 1947. That gives you some sense. There's a lot of difference. So our value proposition is the more imperfect the data, the better is the result that we give you in terms of understanding the overall credit risk exposure of the borrower. So what has it done? Between 2011 and 2014, the industry has saved 13 million US dollars. 50% lower default rates. The problem of adverse selection and of suboptimal deployment of capital. Collections, self-cure, very interesting. People would pay, then disappear because there was no one watching. Now to get the next loan, they are being inquired. At that point, they are coming up as saying that, okay, you have a previous outstanding. So they know that they have to pay that to get their next loan. Multiple borrowings, operational efficiencies, I've touched on it. This is probably the most important aspect. Borrower discipline. Pre-bureau, 95% of all applications had false self-disclosures about previous borrowings. A year into the post-bureau scenario, that percentage was down to 7%. Let's move on. And this is what essentially the bureau has been able to do. If you take this to a lender, for microfinance, money is working capital. It is not a term loan. Unfortunately, in our country, lending to microfinance happens only because of priority sector lending guidelines by the Reserve Bank of India, which implies that lending only happens in the last quarter, which defeats the whole purpose of money being working capital. So, periodically, you take this to lenders, to investors, to sector influencers. You tell them, this is a market that's got a lot of potential. We all know that Andhra Pradesh happened. Even in Andhra Pradesh, if you look at households or the number of economically active women in them, the penetration is still about 30-35%. So there's potential. This is all the legacy that happened in the pre-bureau scenario. Forget about this. Don't mix this. But this is what borrowers are doing today. There is no recent delinquency, there is no slippages, there is no kingfisher. that is the beauty of this industry. That the default rates in this industry are lower than default rates in priority sector lending, are lower than default rates in retail lending, are lower than default rates in MSME and corporate lending. And it doesn't slip. It is not that if people go 30 days, they go to 60 days, 90 days, 120 days write-offs. No, it does not happen. Recent delinquencies don't slip. So the story that the Bureau or CRIF IMAC has been able to say on one side is pre-acquisition due diligence. The other side is actually improving the fund flow to the sector. So I thought it would be a good way to let the industry speak for itself.
I think we've run out of time here, so I'll probably open up to questions on the floor if that's okay. Yeah. Is there any questions from the panelists or from the audience here?
Hi, this is Vishal from Tech Mahindra. What kind of handle device you use it, whether it is a tablet or a application on mobile or is a POS terminal?
I think there's somebody on the other end who has a question. You can pass on the mic.
I just wanted to understand, how do you do the risk profiling for somebody who is coming in for the very first time? So you have incomplete information, you have no record of that person will be able to give back that money or not. So typically you mentioned about how the credit card works. It works on certain basic informations which are there to do the risk profiling of the customer, to mention the interest rate that is to be paid on that. So how do you do that for a customer who is coming to you for the very first time and who has complete lack of information?
Fair enough. So I think the one key difference in this industry and the traditional retail lending is that the margins over here are capped by the Reserve Bank of India. So it's almost that for all systemically important microfinance institutions, the Reserve Bank has said that this is going to be your credit policy. I don't care if you are institution A or institution B. So the riskiness really for the microfinance institution lies in the amount of principal exposure that you are taking for a first-time borrower. So for microfinance institutions, institution by institution, you can do retrospective studies to show them the default rates of first-time borrowers that they are bringing on board versus default rates of borrowers who have had previous borrowings with them versus default rates of borrowers who have borrowed previously in the industry but outside. So you try to create those segments, you try to create models around probability of default in each of these segments, and that kind of feeds into the portfolio mix that the microfinance institution wants to take.
We just have one more question from the panel. But we'll move on. Yeah.
Thank you, Subhranshu. I'm from Andhra Pradesh, so as case to everything I'm familiar. Thank you for the wonderful work. Just question is the exhaustive database you created. Though I missed out in the last few years how the system has become smooth now, running even in Andhra Pradesh it's running thanks to your bureau. How do they work in Northeast mostly? Because I'm working in Northeast. Just want to explanation.
Fair enough, sir. So I think if you look at the market, overall in the Northeast, the number of players are lesser. It's dominated by two players, one of which is in the middle of a transformation right now. The other smaller players face a problem of scale. And my sense is that microfinance institutions that are adequately capitalized at this point and who have access to funds through the private equity channel or the lending channel, 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, will not remain microfinance institutions but will transform themselves into MFIs plus something, differentiated banks. And I think there's going to be some microfinance institutions which will come through inorganic acquisitions. And I expect some of these small players to get acquired.
Okay.